guys, it's Stephanie. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today, I'm going to be going over how Discanon did Luke wrong, part 3, talking about The Empire Strikes Back. Again, it's probably going to be longer than I want it to be because there you go. So, bear with me. It'll be fun. This is a journey for all of us, I think. Learn a little bit, talk a little bit about what was missing in the sequel trilogy, and maybe what Disney could do to fix it. But I kind of think they're trying to right now. Double fingers crossed. Anyway, so come on with me. Let's go and revisit The Empire Strikes Back and its mythological and legendary foundations, and Luke, Han, and Leia. So here we go. To page 60 of Star Wars: The Magic of Myth. This is called The Dark Road of Trials, and it's basically going to be centered on The Empire Strikes Back. When The Empire Strikes Back, the hero's journey is only at its midpoint. This is the point at which begins, as the Italian poet Dante describes it, a journey through hell. Midway in our life's journey, I went astray from the straight road, woke up to find myself alone in a dark wood. How shall I say what wood that was? I never saw so drear, so rank, so arduous as a wilderness. Its very memory gives shape of fear. Death could scarce be more bitter than that place. Alright, so our heroes have conquered the powers of darkness, or have gone through their first journey. But they've yet to conquer the powers of darkness. The next stage will represent a long perilous set of tests and ordeals that will also bring important moments of illumination and understanding. Again and again, monsters must be slain, barriers must be passed. This is the midpoint of the journey. The theme of the hero's quest will darken, and the pattern of capture, rescue, and escape become relentless and oppressive until finally rescue and escape become impossible. Alright, the hunt. The motif of the hunt is represented in different guises throughout the second film in the trilogy. Predators stalk, snare, and even consume their prey, while victims manage to wiggle away, only to be captured again. Out of the dangerous, exhilarating exertion and peril of the hunt came the first hero stories. For this early means of providing human sustenance demanded that hunters draw on an awesome power from within themselves. In these prehistoric survival dramas, the contest exchanged a life for a life, and the feeding of a predator or on prey represented a sacred rite, a transubstantiation. Hunter and victim were bound like kin, for they both mystically participated in the transmutability of the life force. This relationship changed when most humans began to hunt each other. In the Cantina and Mos Eisley, towards the beginning of the Star Wars, Greedo is the first bounty hunter encountered in the trilogy. In The Empire Strikes Back, bounty hunters play a prominent role, as Vader calls a group of them together to search for Luke's companions. They are perhaps the most fearsome predators that the heroes will face. It has been 3 years since the destruction of the Death Star, and young Luke is now commander in the rebellion in destroying the Death Star. Luke completed his first hero task, an act of physical courage and faith. Now he must accomplish a moral victory. The setting of the action on the icebound planet of Hoth symbolizes a state of being. Luke has made a firm place for himself in the rebellion, but he has also become frozen there. For further growth to occur, events must work him loose again, and he must move on alone to the deeper realms of his vision quest. Shamans, priests, the visionaries of earlier cultures, dating back to the Paleolithic period, were apparently closely linked to the animal world and the hunt. In order to enter the visionary realms, the shaman himself must become a victim, often experiencing an illness or wounding. This is the imaginary imagery of the first few minutes of the film. As Luke is scouting the wastelands around the rebel base, he is attacked by a wampa creature, a creature that lives in the ice, and dragged unconscious to its lair. When Luke comes to, he is able to access the Force to pull his lightsaber into his hand and kill the beast. But the night is falling and he cannot survive unprotected. As he struggles and then collapses in the snow, Luke sees a vision of Ben Kenobi, who tells him, "You will go to Dagobah system. There you will learn from Yoda, the Jedi Master who instructed me." The vision of the wise and helpful guide fades when Han arrives on his Tauntaun for the moment. I want you guys to remember this because it struck me the last time I saw The Empire Strikes Back, that as Ben fades, Han emerges out of the snow, and it's almost as if Ben was leading Han to find Luke. Just keep that in mind because it's a really beautiful, beautiful scene. Han has replaced Ben in the real world as Luke's protector. Since the time Han had to be bribed into helping Luke to save Leia, he has become an adept rescuer with the warrior hero's extraordinary capacity for action. The hero group is united at the rebel base only to be sent in different directions during the Imperial assault on Hoth. Now the hero's journey branches out in several different paths. Han and Leia will go one way, for they have their own quest to achieve, while Luke pursues his destiny on a distant system. This is the beginning of Luke's spiritual quest, which will lead him to another archetypal event in the hero's journey, atonement with his father. Han, meanwhile, will find his own hero heart in the realm of the sacred marriage. Once again, the heroes stand on the threshold of a new journey. Leaving Hoth, they must once more separate themselves from the status quo and answer the call to adventure. As Han and Leia race away from the Empire and go on their own adventure, Luke leaves Hoth. He follows Ben's instructions and travels to the swampland planet of Dagobah. There he too enters an enclosure where he will be transformed. In his case, the enclosure is formed by large, oddly shaped trees that characterize the landscape of Dagobah. This is the sacred grove. Many ancient cultures held the tree to be sacred, infused with creative energy. Certain trees were not to be cut or injured, while special groves surrounded open-air altars or temples. The Druids, for example, worshipped the Celtic gods beneath such holy trees. These places were usually dominated by oaks, sheltered by sacred stones, and regarded with such terror that even the Druids, who presided over them, feared to enter after sunset. Similarly, other myths and fairy tales, forests have symbolized mastery and transformation. In them dwell the sorcerers and enchanters. They are home to a very early pre-hero archetype, the ancestor of the shaman and the yogi. This figure is hunter, warrior, aesthetic, and all in one. He is master of both powers of nature and those found deep within himself, although this mastery is often hidden behind a simple, naive facade. He shares a mystic solidarity with the wild creatures. Such a figure is the Jedi Master Yoda, who will instruct Luke in the ways of the Force. Forests also represent the unconscious mind, where secrets or dark memories and emotions lie waiting to be discovered. This is the realm Luke enters on Dagobah. He has left his friends in the familiar world behind in order to follow his vision quest. As Yoda expresses it, the Force is to be used only for knowledge and defense, rather than aggression. It provides the ability to foresee certain events and to move external objects with the power of the mind alone. Thus, Yoda urges Luke to concentrate, teaching him to find the still center from within, from which he can act with clarity and balance. Some elements of the Force are reminiscent of Zen Buddhism, with this emphasis on enlightenment by means of direct intuitive insights. In Japan, the study of Zen gave the samurai warrior an awareness of the transitory nature of all things, particularly human life. Thus, every action was to be performed as if it were the last. Warriors did not live in the future or the past, but the present. As Yoda echoes this concept when he complains to Ben Kenobi about Luke. All his life, as he looked away to the future, to the horizon, never on his mind on where he was or what he was doing. Adventure. Excitement. A Jedi craves not these things. And then he chastises Luke. You are reckless. To begin to conquer these aspects of himself, Luke must enter the tree cave, strong with the dark side of the Force. When Luke asks what is in the cave, Yoda tells him, only what you take with you. But Luke girds on his weapons anyway. This symbolizes impatience and lack of faith, his indoctrination into the ways of violence and hostility in the outside world. But this is truly a descent into another spiritual labyrinth, for in the depths of the tree lies the revelation that Darth Vader is not some external evil presence, but the shadow side of Luke himself. The dark side of the Force lies within as well as without, but this is a message that Luke is not ready to yet understand or accept. So now we know, after Luke's moment of failure at the tree cave, he also gains a vision of Han and Leia being held by prisoner in Cloud City by Darth Vader and being tortured. He impulsively goes and leaves his training early to go rescue them. And this will be the first moment of his failure. And Cloud City also, page 82 of Star Wars: The Magic of Myth, Cloud City marks the turning point in the trilogy. All the forces of destiny seem to meet here. Luke once again finds himself in a maze-like enclosure, but this time he is going towards Vader, not away from him. He too descends into the underworld, like Han did, and there's a lot of aspects to going into what occurred with Han, a lot of mythological underpinnings of that in of itself. Han's frozen body departs with the bounty hunter Boba Fett to travel through the dark ocean of space. This night's sea journey with the hero enclosed in a box or in the belly of a sea creature is a vital part of his adventure. Sometimes it occurs when the hero is a child. Moses is a baby when he floats into the bulrushes in a cradle of reeds and pitch. Perseus is still an infant when he and his mother Denai are cast into the sea in an ark. But whatever the hero travels this way, his release will be the equivalent to another rebirth. But as I said, if we go back to Luke, here he will have a revelation that will shake the foundations of his spirit. The monster at the heart of the maze is no stranger but a part of himself. Names often hold symbolic power in Star Wars tales, as in many myths. Now we find that Vader is really Anakin, Luke's father, and akin to him. As Joseph Campbell states, the hero discovers and assimilates his opposite, his own unsuspected self. One by one, the resistances are broken. He must put aside his pride, his virtue, beauty, and life, and bow or submit to the absolutely intolerable when he finds that he and his opposite are not differing species, but one flesh. In the battle that ensues between Vader and Luke, father is pitted against son for mastery of the world. In Greek mythology, Cronus, Saturn, learns that one of his sons will succeed him as leader of the gods. To prevent the prophecy from occurring, Cronus devours his own children, except his wife Gaia manages to hide her last child, giving Cronus a rock to swallow instead. This child, Zeus, will grow up to slay his father, free his siblings, and marry his sister. In the contest depicted in the Star Wars trilogy, Vader, too, would devour his own children to ensure the Empire's mastery. At this stage, Luke cannot win through sheer physical power or skills. One of the tragic flaws that may put the hero in harm's way is a trait of hubris, an arrogant pride that blinds a hero to his true capabilities. Luke has rushed to meet Vader prematurely, and the cost is great. Vader slashes away Luke's hand, and Luke's own flesh is now part of his sacrifice. The dismemberment of the hero or the god is another archetypal occurrence in ancient myths. In early Egyptian mythology, for example, Osiris, king of the gods, is murdered by his brother Set, who dismembers him and scatters the parts of his body along the Nile. Isis, the sister and wife of Osiris, retrieves these parts, and Osiris lives on in the spirit form, becoming the just judge of the underworld and weighing the worth of the human heart. Luke's path, as we will see, will be similar. Before the moment, Vader and Luke are still locked in combat. Vader's not been able to dominate Luke, so he now tries to seduce him. The temptations of the hero are legion: to refuse the call, to stray from the path leading to the pain and suffering, to give up the difficult quest. Vader first appeals to Luke's self-preservation instinct. Don't make me destroy you. Then he attempts to lure Luke with the black magic of flattery and egoism. You do not realize your importance. You've only begun to discover your power. Join me and I will complete your training. But neither of these can bring Luke to his side. Next, Vader throws out a hook that can bring Luke to his side, aimed at Luke's very own heroic values. With our combined strength, we can end this destructive conflict and bring order to the galaxy. Many of the heroes has given into the desire to use his powers to make things right in the world. Actually, Anakin Skywalker himself was one of those people, and has ended up a tyrant, like Anakin Skywalker. But Luke is not swayed, and Vader plays his final and most wicked card, family. You can destroy the Emperor, join me, and together we can rule the galaxy as father and son. Come with me. Luke teeters both figuratively and literally, but instead of giving in, and Vader's crooning, come with me, it is the only way, Luke steps off into the abyss. The act of giving one's life is necessary to preserve one's honor, and the ultimate sacrifice required of heroes, from those of his Homeric epics to the samurais in Japan. Luke's leap also represents a final fall from his innocence. We look at Alfred Lord Tennyson's retelling of the Sir Galahad story. His energetic youth dedicated to mainly achievement, but also motivated by pure and naive ideals of a boy's innocence and exuberance. And indeed, the hand of fate reaches out to make certain that Luke will fulfill his destiny, as Galahad did when he crosses the fantasy of invincible immortality, boyhood into manhood, and comprehends the profound meaning of this passage. Luke leaps into the abyss. He relinquishes his last of childhood innocence, and ensures that if he survives, he will return with the ultimate boon to save his community. So he makes certain he fulfills his destiny, for Luke is sucked through the exhaust pipe in the shaft down to which he's tumbling, and falls out into the bottom of the city. Now he hangs suspended on a slender beam between the clouds of heaven and the sulphurous fumes of hell, the gaseous planet below. For his rescue, Luke instinctively turns to Leia, the female force in his life. She hears his call and returns to the Falcon to save him. Leia, too, has grown through the trials of this journey. We see how her love for Luke and Han has linked her to the Force, even before we know that she and Luke are heir to their father's gifts. As Luke speeds away from his harrowing initiation, Vader calls him telepathically, and Luke responds with a single word, Father. This acknowledgement of the dark side of himself concludes The Empire Strikes Back, but marks the beginning of the final stage of the journey, for it opens the path toward Vader's own transformation and reconciliation between father and son. Alright, I hope you enjoyed this. So, this was the part 3, about the middle of the film in the original Star Wars trilogy, The Empire Strikes Back. To give a little bit of a historical perspective, George Lucas once told Steven Spielberg, while they were developing Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, that the middle movie should always be darker. This is ultimately because in the middle part of a hero's journey is always a descent into some sort of an abyss. So this is why Empire was so dark. And we'll talk a little bit about how Discanon again gets Luke Skywalker wrong. When you meet Luke in TLJ, you do not see the man that grew in Empire. The man that learned his ultimate identity, who struggled with it, and who decided to take action for all the right reasons. This is where Luke Skywalker truly was formed and made, was in Empire. So the Luke Skywalker that we see in TLJ is not the same person. That doesn't necessarily mean that a person doesn't change in 30 years. They do. We all do. I'm not the same person I was 30 years ago. However, the struggle that he went through in Empire would have so profoundly changed him that the person that we meet in TLJ never would have occurred. To me, the ultimate insult, I think, to the fans and to Star Wars and to the trilogy, to the characters, to George Lucas, is the lack of understanding Luke through each stage in the OT. It's as if it is a poorly written fan fiction in lots of ways, There's a lack of education. There's no cohesiveness because the band that emerges at the end of Empire Strikes Back would never turn into this band. Unless they can really, really come up with a really, really good explanation. And God bless you, JJ. I'm on your side. I know that you're upset about what Ryan Johnson did. And I hope you can, but I'm not sure, okay? I reserve judgment, and the reason why I do that is because I don't want Star Wars to fail. I want it to succeed. Kids need Han, they need Luke, they need Leia to be who they were at the end of Return of the Jedi. Whoever these people were, and this is where Disney canon gets it wrong. They were in too much of a hurry. They lack knowledge of what Star Wars is, and they were lazy about it. That's it. So, anyway, tomorrow is going to be part 3 or part 4. Return of the Jedi. I'll either get it out tomorrow or the next day. So this is Steph, signing out. See you in the galaxy. Smash the like button. Hit subscribe. And hit the bell. Don't troll. See you around.